Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel Glopen. And today we have a very special guest, Francis. Francis is a friend that I met 2 years back, and Francis is a true Chinese expert. I know Francis has been living in China for more than 20 years. He has also started his own China Flexpat Podcast. So welcome Francis to Glopen today, and we would like to introduce you to our guests as well as to hear about your story.
Thank you very much, Boyang. It's a great pleasure to be here. I learned so much from you and I'm really inspired by what you do.
Thank you so much, Francis. So let's get started and get to know a little about you. So how did you actually come to China at the very beginning? What attracted you?
Well, I was always very international. My mom is from Ireland. I grew up in an international family. I took every opportunity to learn languages and to grow abroad. So I spent some time in Ireland when I was 16, and then I wanted to go to international university. So I decided to study business. And during that business school, 19 years old, I first got in contact with Chinese. So I had the chance to learn Chinese, and then I had the chance to go to China as an English teacher during the class holidays. This was the first time. That was nearly 20 years ago, 2004. So then I came back a year later, and then afterwards I got married to my first Chinese wife, and this kept me very Chinesey for all these years. But I was always living in Germany, but my big dream was to come back to China, and finally in 2016 I had the chance to get a real job in China as a foreigner, as a flexpat, how we like to say, and this is how I came back.
Great, that's a very inspiring story. So you have different periods within China and you have experienced a lot of things in China, probably even more than I did. So tell us, how did you get used to the life in China during these years, and how did you learn your Chinese, by the way?
There's a big question. So basically, I always enjoyed being out of Germany. So of course, Germany is a fantastic country, but it's a really safe zone. So I'm always happy when I'm out of Germany doing something new. So China was like the most non-German thing I could find. So I really enjoyed being in China, especially in the beginning. When I came here in the very beginning, I just got some Lautose. I bought a bike from an old guy, and it broke every day, and I had to get it fixed every day. And I enjoyed this so much, to just always be on the streets and eat on the streets and talk to the people and so on. Of course, back in the day, my Chinese was not so good, but it was okay. I could get around. I really enjoyed this. So this was also this part of learning Chinese. I had a challenge. I tried to solve this challenge, and I learned words one by one. But when I finally came back to China in 2016, I figured out that my Chinese was like hitting a glass ceiling. It was not getting better, and I was working on this for a long time. And then I finally decided, okay, I cannot keep going like this. I have to really get in the mindset of learning the language like a professional level. Otherwise, I will never break through the glass ceiling. So I had personal classes, and I learned very hard every weekend. And I built my own algorithm how to do this. And I'm quite proud of this. I tried to teach this to other people, but nobody else mastered this the way that I did. But now I'm able to speak professional Chinese. I can do meetings, presentations, and everything in Chinese, and it's really good and helps me a lot also to much more enjoy this life. And of course, now my life is not like it used to be in the past. It's much more daily life. I have an apartment where I live, I have a job where I go, I talk to friends, I go to Shanghai. It's not like it used to be 20 years ago, but it's still, for me, it's every day I wake up and I think, man, I'm in China. That's cool.
So that's really fantastic. So you have already made that breakthrough to really understand the Chinese culture as well as mastering the Chinese language. On the professional side, now you are a, let's say, top manager in the automotive industry, and you're working at Juli. How is your role in that specific company? And I understand that you have a very international team. How do you manage that team in terms of keeping the balance between the international norms and the Chinese culture?
I work in the automation industry, so it's mechanical engineering, machines in automotive. So it's a very small market, because automotive is a big market, but machine building is not so big. It's very influenced by Germany and Japan. I'm German, and I used to work for an international automation company before, also in automotive. So the market is very small. And when I was looking for a new job, I never thought I would join a Chinese company. But then a headhunter kind of connected us and said, well, this guy this guy is German and wants to be a top manager, and this Chinese boss wants to be international and he's working with Germans and Swiss people, so maybe the two can work together. And then we had the meeting and introduced each other, and it was like
Good match.
it was a good match. I was very direct, and he like said, I want this guy. He's very direct and tell me my weakness. So I joined the company and said, okay, let's make this company international, because in this industry it's quite small. So you have one leader in Japan, you have one leader in Germany, and you have one leader in Italy. So everybody knows each other. There's maybe 20 companies worldwide who do this. And I told my boss that you will see the day where the Germans will copy the Chinese. And he always says, well, we're never going to happen, but he likes to hear this, right? So this is what I say. But in order to do this, we need to have standards. So my role was to say, we have to make the company international, but it's not only speak English, that's not enough. No, the whole engineering process, the whole way how we go from sales to delivery has to be international, standardized in a way that international companies can accept this. At the same time, we need to keep the Chinese advantages, which is mainly speed and agility and cost, right? So if we go completely international, we're like the Germans, then we are slowly and expensive. No, we don't want to do that. We want to be quick, but at the same time standardized. So what I tried with my team was to tell my team, okay, they're all Chinese, so they can use their Chinese skills. They work hard, it's great, but they also have to be smart. They have to learn, they have to change, and they have to understand that key account management with international customers, it's a long time journey. So you have to start and then never stop. It's a long-term race. So if you forget something after the first meeting, then forget it. It doesn't work. So you have to have a long-term planning how to do this. And I tried to build this step by step with my team, and no single manager left. So far we started with 3-4 guys 4 years ago, and now we are more than 20. So it's like a real growth journey, and the revenue went up 4 times with more or less the same team. So the sales team grew, but the company is not growing so much, the revenue, so it's very profitable. And we are now the market leader. So Juli Automation has the most references in this industry. It's very focused on China, okay? So our next step now is to take out of China to go international. This is why the preparation was so important, that the team in China, that they learn to be international.
That's really great, because I had similar experience, and I know that in Chinese corporates, people leave sometimes after 3 months, after 6 months, and without a proper documentation, without a proper structure to keep the documentation of how things are done and what has been done before and how can we prove further along the project, it will never be able to succeed like you did. So professionally, you're already pretty successful. And besides your professional job, you also have a side job, I would call it, which is the China Flexpat Podcast. Tell us about it, and what do you want to really achieve with this podcast?
Well, the honest answer is I'm doing something now at 40 which other people do when they're 60. So I'm trying to tell other people what they can learn from me and my friends, which I think is so important, to learn from each other and to share experience. In my case, it's my journey, how I came to China. And I see other people who have the same plan or who are already in China, and they all have the same challenge, but they don't talk about it. At least they don't share these experiences. So I wanted to build a platform where flexpats, flexible expats, can learn from each other and openly discuss their challenges. So these people, they work in China, they are Germans, French, Indians, whatever, Americans, and they get treated really well. So people look up to them and also envy them, and maybe they fight them. So they get in trouble, but at the same time they have a good life, but they cannot just go home. So they have been in China for a long time. So it's not so easy. So we have very special challenges. In the China Flexpat Podcast, the idea about this is to build lots of content that people can listen to this and then connect with a speaker and understand more about his or her experience and maybe learn from each other. And we've had people being hired, right? One flexpat hires another, or one flexpat is a headhunter. Another flexpat is a customer. Another flexpat is an employee, and they hire each other. It's fantastic. And of course it's business, but it's mainly personal support and knowledge sharing.
Yeah, that's really great because I've seen that you have already more than 150 podcasts altogether, right? And I've seen a lot of interactions within the WeChat group, and I've also seen a lot of interactions on LinkedIn as well, and people really exchange ideas and exchange contacts as well. So I think you have done a great, fantastic job for the Flexpat community within China. So now you have so many people attending your podcast and giving you the ideas. What would be your recommendation to flexpats that are interested in China, coming to China to work or to study or whatever?
Well, the most important thing is you're a guest in China, so you have to behave like a guest. And this means, well, you need to figure out what your host, what they want, what they expect. So basically, in order to have a good life, you need a job, right? If you have a good job, then it's good. It's good for you. So you need to understand how this job works, what the expectations are, what they expect of you. And if this works out, it's fantastic. So keep it, be loyal, it's really good. Just the job is not everything. So you should also build your life beyond the job. And the problem here is that the life of flexpats and the life of Chinese people is totally different. So the easiest solution is to hang around with foreigners because they have the same life. But the problem is then it's very difficult to build really long-lasting relationships because it's just an expat bubble. So the better way is to really try to understand how do I want to spend my free time. So what's my personal target to spend my free time, my lifestyle? And how can I invite Chinese people into this lifestyle? So how can I share this without offering away all my values, right? I don't have to do the complete Chinese way because this can be too difficult, but I can share a little bit. And this is, I think, my biggest recommendation. The job is very important. If the job doesn't work, it all doesn't work. But don't make it only about the job and just spend your free time just wasting your time. It's also not good.
So keeping the balance between, your real hobbies, but as well as, getting mixed into the Chinese culture, having certain Chinese friends and to hang around with them as well.
Yes.
So you've been in China more than 20 years. So what would you say to somebody that has never been to China before?
I think China is growing. That's the interesting thing. So China has been growing all these times and now it's in a crisis, right? So now it's maybe reinventing itself. And what will be after the crisis is completely new. So this is interesting. So for people think about China, just think about change. Think about how will an economy, a society which had a certain way of living and working, now it is going to change, and this is always interesting. In every changing opportunity, there's so much opportunity for everybody involved, and this is so great. I think people should think about opportunity when they think about China, not about risk or any being afraid, but rather to think, okay, this company, this country, this economy, this society is changing, so how can I be part of this?
So how can I be part of this? How can I witness this change that happens not so often in the history?
Exactly.
So Francis, I've asked you so many questions. Do you have any questions to me or anything at the end that you would like to share with our audience?
No, I'm just so happy that I can be here because I came to China when I was like 20 and now I'm 40 and I hope to stay until I'm 60. So this is such an experience and I'm so glad to talk to you today to share this.
So thank you so much, Francis. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next Scope video.